Hey fellow hobby gamers, welcome to my monthly update for August 2020. This is going to be a bumper episode as I've been a pretty busy boy. I've got some new stuff in to show you guys what I'm going to be working for. I got a lot of updates to the armies, and we'll get to the table in a minute. But thanks to everyone who's been watching and subscribing to the channel. Really appreciate the support. And well, let's get straight into it. So first of all, I've got a couple of new additions to my rule sets. First of all, I've got the Oathmark rule set. So I'm going to be checking this out. I've read the rules already and I've played a tester game. Need to work on that a bit more. But I also picked up, because all my armies are based on rounds, which I absolutely love at the moment. So I got some of these movement trays from Renedra. So they do like sort of 10-man units or 20-man units, but they only do these types. So I've also contacted war bases to see if they can make me some sort of cavalry size ones for the ovals that I use for my cavalry, and then of course for the monster size ones, which are the big rounds that I use. But I'll be trying some Oathmark, getting that to the table and putting some battle reports and updates on armies and that. But also, I put a post on some of the forums checking out some interesting other rules and stuff. And one of those that caught my eye was a free rule set that you can download from one-page rules. This is called Age of Fantasy, and it's basically just a very simple rule set, but it's miniature agnostic, which I love, and it has some really interesting bits, including a halfling army list. So, of course, my halflings will get used for that. So those are two new fantasy games that I can try out to go with the original 3 that I already have, that I'm currently playing. But I also, because of the Zulus that I've been building up, and I've got a couple of colonial, British colonial guys up in the loft that I can get to eventually, I picked up the men who would be kings from Osprey Games. This is obviously set in the colonial period, using Zulus and British and Afghans and Sudanese and all the different types of models that you can use. I'll of course be doing stuff in South Africa, but that is in the future. At the moment, I'm going to show you what I've been working on for this month. Some interesting bits. I hope you like it. If you do, give us a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys on the next battle report. Okay, so you join me for force number 1. This is my medieval army led by Eobard the Stronger. I use this force predominantly for Lion Rampant, or I did originally, but obviously of late I've been using it in Dragon Rampant, or at least my friends have been, as I've been using the Halflings. So I've made some progress on it, as usual. We've got the cavalry units over here, we've got the infantry units, the Bellicose Foot, the light missile and the heavy missile, and Eobard himself. Now, everything else is a standing army, except the things that I've been done this month was these archers right here. Now, these are from North Star Miniatures Games. They're the Frostgrave archers. I picked up a couple of them from a friend. He had already built them up for Frostgrave, but then got out of the game. So he passed them on to me. If you remember in the last episode, I was saying that I wanted to do a couple of head swaps and modify them for the army so that they fit in. Obviously, I've gone with a purple and white color scheme to match them in as appropriately. But I've also added a few head swaps. So you'll see a couple of the guys have some heads from the Teutonic box set. I think the Teutonic Men-at-Arms from Fireforge. I had a few heads extra, so I've added a few head swaps, but kept a few of the Frostgrave ones. So I think this guy here, this guy, this guy, this guy, and that guy, all the Frostgrave ones. The one thing I did notice while painting these is that they are quite, they set up obviously for a frozen wasteland like Frostgrave is. So they got like scarves and extra body padding and things like that. So they are dressed more warmly than the rest of the army, but I don't think that matters. I mean, they're good figures. They fit in perfectly, and they can still be used in Frostgrave themselves, individually. And I thought they came out right. They painted up nicely. The head swaps work. They fit in nicely, as you can see. You got the crossbows at the back there. Those are pure Fireforge ones, whereas these ones slightly more bulkier, especially with the extra padding and stuff. But yeah, works. So, the other thing I added was this wizard over here. Now, this is predominantly just a plain medieval army, but I've been doing a lot of demos to some of my friends for games and stuff like that, and they want to, use my armies and things. So one side could be using the halflings, the other side might be using these humans, and I felt like the human side were purely medieval and the halflings were very fantastical. So I wanted to add some fantastical elements that people could use if they wanted to. Wizard was the first option. Um, this is a massive darkness wizard, very Gandalf-esque, very Tolkien inspired, which I like. I really appreciate those type of look. And he was fun to paint, actually, really interesting, nicely detailed. And I think I didn't paint him in any of the colors that the army is in, so he's kind of neutral. So I could use him in other armies. I have another Empire army which is all square based on Warhammer style army. So I've kind of kept him neutral, but get the basing similar, so he still fits in with the army, etc. The other thing you might notice is that there's no Zulu mercenaries in here, as they'll be upcoming in a segment after this one, as they're probably going to start expanding into an army of themselves. And then, of course, over here on the left is what's upcoming for this force. So I said I wanted to do another infantry unit. So I've got another unit of Fireforge infantry. This is just basic spearmen or men-at-arms or sergeants or whatever you want to call them. I have found some shields. They're slightly different to the shields I have now, which are set on these guys, which is fine. I like that. So these ones are more, got a little peak at the end. So that'll work to differentiate the two units. And you see a banner on the side there. I want to start adding banners to the units. So that unit will get a banner. And then I might add another battle, sort of big banner. So like, kind of like this to the army. So that there's a bit more, I don't know, flair to the army, if you like. Maybe give them a banner, I'm not sure. Because they all individual houses, they might not get one. But there might be a sort of a army standard, if you like, that joins them. I don't know. See how it goes. But at the moment, that is where this army is standing. So we've got quite a few standing troops. We've still got the mercenary contingent over here. And of course, I can still use the Zulu contingent, or the Shoshan as I call them in this narrative, for this army, which has a lot more light troops. As this army develops, obviously I've added the archers and the wizard, and those I'm going to add those spearmen next, maybe for next month. The other thing I might consider adding is another fantastical element, maybe some like a hero on a griffin or something like that. Maybe I want to try and get some of those demi-griff knights that I use for Empire. I really like those models, and they'd fit in quite nicely with this. So there's just some elements to add this to Dragon Rampant, but then also I can use in the other games like Warlords of Erewhon, the new game that I'm going to be trying out, Age of Fantasy from One Page Rules, Saga Age of Magic. So all customizable to this force, so that I can use this in multiple rules and add and change elements as needed. Right, so that's the humans. Let's go on to the next army. So this is army number 2. This was obviously previously started off as just one unit of Zulus that I wanted to add as Eastern mercenaries to my narrative, which I called the Shoshan. But then I enjoyed that so much I added a second unit, which I was then thinking about building up into an army in its own right. But it was sort of on the back burner, as I wasn't overly in a hurry to do that. But then while cleaning out the loft and selling off some of my 40k stuff, I came across some models that I had previously built years ago, and even had one painted up as a tester. So I kind of figured, well, it would be wrong not to use those. So I built up a few more, and now I've got 3 units of Zulu warriors, or Shoshan infantry. I've obviously got a leader model over here. So this is now starting to become an army in its own right. So I got obviously the 3 units of infantry here. I also managed to pick up something for this, which is the Men Who Would Be Kings from Osprey Games. It's obviously colonial gaming, and this will work perfectly for that. I can obviously also use it in Dragon Rampant and Lion Rampant as I build them out. And then of course I can also use it in Congo as African tribesmen. I mean, they're not exactly correct, but it'll work. I don't need to go get more. I can perfectly well use these. But then, of course, what I was talking about in the last video, when I was thinking about upgrading these into an army in their own right, was to add a Numidian contingent. So we got sort of a North African and a Southern African element to it, with about 2,000 years in aged gap, but it'll still work fine. I think I add some Numidian cavalry and some Numidian infantry and an elephant, and sort of make the Numidian infantry like a palace guard, if you like, with more armor, bigger shields, that sort of thing. And then the elephant having similar sort of shield designs, similar color palette, that sort of thing, similar basing, just to tie the army all together, which will then come across nicely, I think. And I've still actually got more Zulus than this. So I've got, I think, enough for another 2 light infantry units. Which should give me quite a large amount of infantry. You need quite a lot for games like Men Who Would Be Kings, especially for the African tribes, because obviously they need lots of models and bodies to rush into the guns. But yeah, so I thought I'd show this as a separate unit, a separate army now, as this is building towards this. I am starting to worry that these videos are going to start, time-wise, they're going to end up becoming like an hour and a half videos, because I'm doing so many different armies. But that's the nature of a hobbyist, isn't it? You just keep doing and keep making more and more and more. But anyway, this is a nice short and sweet one. I painted a second unit, as I said, and now I've got a third unit, which I can work on for next month. Alright, let's move on to the next army. Okay, so this is the third, but not final thing I'm going to show you in this installment of my hobby update. This is, of course, Ingrid's Halflings. That's Ingrid the Berserker. I think this army has probably had the most progress done to, because I have, of course, added the new cockatrice. This is the big TT combat model. I've actually replaced my old one. I'm just leaning over to grab it. As you can see over here, I've taken off, stolen its base and given it to this one. I'll make a new base for that one at a later stage, once I've decided what I'm going to do with it. But also, over here, you can see I've got the crows for Helga's retinue. So while I'm facing these crows, these are from Zombicide, by the way, from the Black Plague set. They are quite expensive for what you get. I mean, you do get quite a few of them in a box, but still. I want to give a shout out to Steve Evans from the Facebook group, Blackjack Legacies Facebook group. The legend had a few extra from he used a set of these for his Dark Elder, and he had a few extra left over, and he said he would send them over to me. He did, and I am much appreciated. Thank you very much, Steve. You're a legend. So that was exactly what I was looking for, which was like sort of swarm of crows. I had gone scouting around on the internet trying to find a similar sort of thing, because these go for like 45-50 quid on eBay, which was crazy. But he was kind enough to send me those. I got them painted up and based, as you can see. I added the red on the rims, because obviously they're just crows, just to tie in with the army. It's a fantastical army, so sue me. Anyway, yeah, so I've added that unit to the army, so that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted Helga to have some sort of fantastical, kind of Viking-ish, fantastical element to her scout unit. And then, of course, as I was talking about a minute ago, the cockatrice. There's a big boy, who has been very impressive in the games that I've been using him and adding him to the battle reports. So that's worked well. But that's not the only thing I've done for them, although it's not completed yet. I have just finished the second unit of Lightfoot. As you can see, they still need bases, as I hand make these bases with a green stuff roller. I use Sculpey and bake them up in the oven, get them on the bases, and they look very, very impressive, but they take a bit of time. And of course, that unit needs their bases done. But I wanted to show you that there's progress made in this. So this is what the army looks like as a whole now. So we've got quite a few options to use. Now when I play, I don't have to use everything I have. I mean, I think in the last game, I didn't even use the heavy crossbows. Um, and I think I split down that unit into 2 scout units when I was model ripping. But it gives me a lot more options and flexibility, especially now as well when we have some other games I can try them with. We've got obviously Age of Fantasy, which I want to try out, which uses bigger squads and mobs of stuff. Still units are small like this, but you can use biggest scale armies. Um, and they got a halfling army list, which is almost perfectly tailor-made for the figures I have. I got goat riders, they got cockatrices, they got wizards, they got all sorts of stuff. So I'm definitely anxious to get this army onto the table with that rule set. And then I've got some ideas that I think I can add to this. I've ordered some more bits and pieces from TT Combat to add to this, which I think will complement the army nicely and bulk it out a bit even more. But as I always say every month, it's like, you get to the point where you look at this and you go, this is army's done. I can move on to something else. It never happens. I always keep adding more and more and more. I might add a second cockatrice as well. I quite like this model. Turned out much nicer than I thought it was going to be. Uh, Once I started painting it, and it just looks so impressive on the battlefield when you get to use it. That I might get another one. Just add 2 cockatrices running around, smashing up things. But anyway, that's the halfling army, and I got one more final thing to show you, and then hopefully that'll be done with this video. So let's move on to piece project number 4. Okay, so this is the final thing I wanted to show you for this hobby update. This is not an army, but it is some stuff I've been working on, and some stuff that I really love. I love all these gubbins and little battlefield accessories and things like that. I love adding some narrative and feel and theme to a battlefield when I'm playing on it. Even if it has no impact on the game whatsoever, I still enjoy adding that flavor, and like it feels like a living world. So this is the sort of stuff I like to collect and then, put on the battlefield with little diorama type things. And most of it, I think, is from Mantic Games. But there's also a few bits from D&B Games. So there's like some wood piles, some gold piles, some burning logs, etc. like that. That's from D&B Games. Most of these barrels and market stall things and crates and treasure chest carts, those are from Mantic Games' Battlefield accessory set. Some of it's from the Dungeon Saga set. I think this crate here with this wagon here with the detachable wheat stack, I think that might be from War Bases. I think I ordered some bases and saw that on there, and I couldn't resist. I don't know where the farm animals are from. They've, when you go to Salute or something like that at a show and you see a pack of stuff, you can't help but pick them up. Sometimes you just get them with various other things. So we've got like some sheep, cows, goats, pigs. My favorite, the chickens. So I've got all different size scale bases of chickens there. And of course, if you want to know why we need the chicken, it's because you can put them on a spit for the barbecue. Of course. What else? We've even got a crocodile at the back there. God knows where I got that from, but they all count for something. That's the one animal in this set of stuff that I've done that doesn't fit here, but I got a river. See, there's a river at the back there. Yeah, crocodiles live in rivers, so it works. I've got loads more of this stuff to do. Obviously, you got different treasures. I just picked up some treasures from Bad Squiddo Games, some treasure sets, and some scarecrows. I want to do some cornfields and stuff. Got the rest of the Dungeon Saga things to do. So like, there's a couple of doors I've done for the set. I also got some dungeon tiles from D&B Miniatures. So these are the people who make these wood logs and these coin purses here and these things over here. They do like these custom handmade dungeon tiles. They got a set that's done for Dungeon Saga specifically. So it copies the card tiles exactly. So once I've done that and I've got some of the other scenery that comes in that set painted up, I can play some Dungeon Saga with all that painted stuff. Most of the set, these figures are painted as well. I did it a while ago. I've had Dungeon Saga for ages. But as with most things, they go into the back seat, and you'll get to that later. And sometimes they never do. You got different barrel sets. These are sort of a set of barrels. You got these cool little market stall supply center things. A smaller one over here. You got the treasure chests over there. They actually open up as well. Funny enough, the Dungeon Saga and the Mantic Terrain Kit stuff, they have this really weird sticky feel to them. I've tried washing them and, um, cleaning them and spraying them and all that sort of stuff, but still they have a bit of a sticky residue, but it's not at the end of the world. Just thought I'd mention that. Got some road signs over there, which once I've sorted out my narrative properly, I'll add some names to them, I think. I got a random sort of old militiaman who's now basically a farmer or something like that. Just added him to the set for the shits and giggles. Got a well and all sorts of cool stuff. The horse also is obviously not attached to that. And I base the horse like I do all my cavalry on the oval pill shapes. And yeah, so just random wood piles. It's all cool. Everything's really cool. I really love it. So that is all I've painted this month. Quite a stack of stuff. Of course, I got more, but you can follow the link to my Painting Nights Facebook page where you can see all the commissions I did for this month. So thanks for watching. See you guys later.